The morning was unusually quiet, the kind of quiet that feels deliberate, as if the world itself had decided to pause and observe. A thin layer of fog rested low over the stone courtyard, clinging to the ground and curling around the wooden pillars like slow-moving smoke. Birds had not yet begun their songs, and the distant city noises had not yet broken the calm. This was not a place meant for spectators, and yet a small group had gathered along the edges, standing respectfully far from the center. No one spoke above a whisper. No one laughed. There was an unspoken understanding that whatever was about to happen did not belong to noise or excitement. Bruce Lee stepped into the courtyard with light feet and alert eyes. He was young, lean, powerful, and already legendary in ways that felt uncomfortable to him. He wore simple training clothes, nothing that announced fame or challenge. His movements were sharp even when standing still, like a coiled spring ready to release. He had traveled far after hearing stories that made no logical sense. People said there was a Tai Chi master so old that his age was debated. Some said 85, others said 90, some even older. They said the man could barely walk fast, yet no one could push him off balance. They said young fighters left confused, embarrassed, sometimes angry, unable to explain why their strength failed. Bruce Lee did not believe in mystery without testing it. To him, truth lived in motion, in pressure, in reality. That was why he had come. The old man was already there, standing calmly in the center of the courtyard. His hair was thin and white, his posture curved not from weakness but from time itself slowly reshaping bone. His hands hung loosely at his sides, fingers slightly bent, as if holding invisible threads. His breathing was slow and even barely noticeable unless one was paying attention. At first glance, he looked like someone who should not be fighting anyone at all. Some of the observers exchanged glances, wondering if Bruce Lee had been misled, if this entire situation was some kind of misunderstanding. But when the elder lifted his eyes, something changed. There was clarity there. Not sharpness, not aggression, but depth. The kind of depth that does not react to the surface because it understands what lies beneath. Bruce felt it immediately, though he could not have explained it. He bowed deeply, not out of politeness, but instinct. The old master returned the bow with a faint smile that revealed neither confidence nor doubt. It was simply acceptance. There was no formal signal to begin, no countdown, no command. The fight began the moment Bruce shifted his weight forward. In an instant, he moved with the speed that had already terrified so many opponents. His feet struck the stone floor lightly, his body flowing forward with explosive intent. His first strike was fast enough that most eyes could not follow it cleanly. It was precise, efficient, designed to end things quickly, but it meant nothing. The old man had moved. Not away, but slightly to the side, rotating his body just enough that Bruce's strike slid past empty space. Bruce did not stop. He followed immediately with another attack, then another, each one faster, sharper, more aggressive than the last. The air cracked softly with each motion, and still nothing landed. The old master seemed to drift rather than step, his feet barely lifting, his body turning and yielding, never resisting directly. It was as if Bruce was striking at a reflection that refused to stay still. Seconds passed. Then a minute. Then more. The expectation of a quick conclusion faded. The onlookers leaned in slightly, their faces tightening with confusion. Bruce Lee had already begun to adjust. He changed angles, shifted rhythm, varied timing. He attacked high, then low, then paused briefly before exploding forward again. Each tactic was met with the same result. The old man did not block. He did not strike back. He simply neutralized. When Bruce pushed, the elder yielded. When Bruce tried to pull away and reset, the elder followed just enough to remain connected, like a shadow that never quite detached. The fog lifted slowly as the sun rose higher, and with it clarity came, not in victory but in realization. This was not a contest of strength. It was something else entirely. As the minutes continued to stretch, Bruce felt something unfamiliar creeping into his body. Fatigue. Not the sharp exhaustion of a hard sprint, but a slow, draining heaviness that settled into the muscles and lungs. His breathing deepened. Sweat formed along his brow and neck. He had trained his entire life to end fights quickly, decisively, to overwhelm opponents before endurance became a factor. But this opponent refused to be overwhelmed. The old Tai Chi master's breathing never changed. His expression never tightened. His movements never accelerated. Time seemed to pass differently for him. At one point, Bruce attempted a rapid sequence meant to trap the elder's arms in close distance. The old man responded by turning his waist slightly and placing a gentle hand against Bruce's forearm. The contact was soft, almost respectful, and yet Bruce felt his balance disappear. He stumbled back 2 steps, not pushed, not thrown, simply redirected into emptiness. A quiet murmur spread through the observers. No one laughed now, no one doubted. Bruce reset himself, eyes focused, mind racing. He realized that every ounce of force he used was being fed back into him. The more he tried to dominate, the more he lost control. The old man seemed to absorb intention itself, dissolving aggression before it could fully form. This realization unsettled Bruce more than any punch ever had. He had always believed that evolution meant refining speed, sharpening power, eliminating waste. But here stood a man who had abandoned force entirely and yet remained unmovable. As the fight continued, Bruce slowed, not because he wanted to, but because his body demanded it. His movements were still fast, still dangerous, but no longer relentless. The courtyard, once filled with anticipation, now felt sacred, as if something ancient was unfolding that words would never fully capture. By the time 20 minutes had passed, Bruce Lee was no longer fighting to win. He was fighting to understand. Every breath felt heavier than the last. His muscles burned. His heart pounded. The old Tai Chi master stood before him, unchanged, calm, present, rooted not in the ground but in the moment itself. This was no longer a test of who was stronger or faster. It was a confrontation between youth and time, between ambition and patience, between the need to prove and the wisdom to simply be. And as the fight moved toward its 25th minute, Bruce began to sense that whatever this encounter was meant to give him, it would not come through victory, but through surrender to the lesson hidden within the struggle itself. By the time the fight crossed the 20-minute mark, the courtyard no longer felt like a physical place. It felt suspended, sealed off from ordinary time, as if the world beyond its stone walls had quietly stepped aside. Bruce Lee stood across from the old Tai Chi master, chest rising and falling in deep, controlled breaths, sweat dripping from his jaw and darkening the fabric of his clothes. His arms felt heavy now, not weak, but resistant, as though they were moving through water rather than air. This sensation disturbed him deeply. Bruce had always trusted his body completely. It was a weapon he had forged with discipline, obsession, and relentless testing. Yet here it was, responding differently, no longer obeying pure will. Across from him, the old man's posture remained relaxed, his knees slightly bent, spine aligned, shoulders loose. His face showed no strain, no urgency. He looked like someone waiting, not someone surviving. Bruce attacked again, but this time there was a subtle change. The aggression was still there, but it was mixed with curiosity. He wanted to see how the old man would respond if he altered the rhythm, if he slowed slightly, if he paused longer between bursts. He stepped in with a measured strike, then a sudden acceleration meant to break expectation. The old master responded with the same calm redirection, his waist turning like a wheel, his arms guiding Bruce's force away without collision. It was not defensive in the traditional sense. It was cooperative, as though the old man was accepting Bruce's energy and escorting it somewhere harmless. Bruce felt his own momentum betraying him, pulling him off center, forcing him to recover again and again. Each recovery cost energy, each adjustment drained focus. At one point, the elder spoke again, his voice low, steady, almost conversational. He told Bruce that fighting the body without understanding the mind was like chasing shadows at sunset. Bruce heard the words but struggled to accept them. His entire philosophy was built on practicality, on stripping away illusion. And yet, this experience felt more real than any fight he had ever had. The old man continued to move, barely lifting his feet, maintaining a constant connection to Bruce's center. When Bruce tried to disengage and reset distance, the elder followed. Not aggressively, but insistently, closing space just enough to prevent Bruce from fully escaping. This frustrated Bruce more than any direct attack. He was used to controlling distance. Here, distance seemed irrelevant. The crowd had grown utterly silent. No one dared interrupt. Some of the younger observers watched with wide eyes, their understanding of combat quietly unraveling. Others, older and more experienced, nodded subtly, recognizing principles they had heard spoken of but never seen expressed so clearly. The Tai Chi master was demonstrating something rare: economy beyond efficiency, patience beyond endurance. Bruce's breathing grew louder in the stillness, a rhythmic reminder of effort being spent without result. His mind raced through techniques, philosophies, adaptations. He tried to empty himself, to flow, to become less rigid. But years of habit resisted. He was still trying to impose something, to force understanding through action. As the minutes approached 25, Bruce launched one final series, not fueled by anger or pride, but by determination. He wanted clarity. His movements were still fast, still sharp, but now there was hesitation. the smallest pause where confidence once lived. The old man responded as he always had, neutralizing without resistance. Then, in a moment so subtle it nearly went unnoticed, the elder placed both palms lightly against Bruce's chest and shifted his weight. There was no shove, no strike. Yet Bruce felt as if the ground itself had tilted. He stumbled backward several steps, heart racing, eyes wide. He stopped, finally understanding that this fight was not moving toward resolution in any conventional sense. Bruce lowered his hands. His breathing slowed, though his chest still burned. He bowed deeply, his head lowered, his posture humble. This was not defeat in the way the world understood it. It was recognition. Recognition of a truth he had not yet integrated. The old Tai Chi master returned the bow, his smile gentle, almost affectionate. He spoke quietly, telling Bruce that youth seeks to conquer time, while wisdom learns to move with it. He said that force is loud, but understanding is silent. Bruce listened fully now, absorbing each word without resistance. The fight ended not with applause, not with triumph, but with stillness. And in that stillness, something within Bruce Lee shifted permanently. The courtyard slowly returned to the world after that moment, though it felt different now, altered by what had taken place. The observers did not rush forward. No one spoke immediately. It was as if everyone present sensed that speaking too soon would diminish what they had witnessed. Bruce Lee stepped back, wiping sweat from his face, his expression thoughtful rather than frustrated. He did not look embarrassed, nor did he look victorious. He looked changed. The old Tai Chi master relaxed his stance and slowly walked toward the edge of the courtyard, his steps unhurried, his presence already beginning to fade back into anonymity. He did not offer further instruction. He did not seek praise or acknowledgement. His lesson had already been delivered through movement, through time, through restraint. In the days that followed, the story spread quietly, not through newspapers or public demonstrations, but through whispers, through private conversations between practitioners who trusted one another. Each retelling altered slightly, shaped by the listener's beliefs. Some exaggerated, some dismissed it entirely. Many could not accept that Bruce Lee, the embodiment of speed and modern martial evolution, had fought for 25 minutes without overpowering a man nearly 3 times his age. But those who understood internal martial arts recognized the truth beneath the legend. They knew that mastery does not always look impressive. Sometimes it looks ordinary. Sometimes it looks slow. Sometimes it looks like nothing at all. The old Tai Chi master lived out the remainder of his life in quiet practice. He never spoke publicly of the encounter. To him, it was not an achievement worth recording. It was simply an exchange, a moment of shared exploration between 2 paths of martial understanding. When he passed away a few years later, there were no monuments, no documentaries, no official recognition. And yet his influence lived on, subtly, invisibly, in the way Bruce Lee's philosophy evolved. Bruce returned to his training with new questions. He began to think more deeply about softness, about yielding, about the relationship between tension and freedom. His famous words about water took on deeper meaning, not as metaphor alone, but as lived experience. In later years, Bruce spoke often about adaptability, about the danger of clinging to fixed forms. While he never publicly confirmed the fight, those close to him noticed the shift. His movements became more relaxed. His teaching emphasized awareness over aggression, presence over domination. He understood now that true mastery was not about defeating opponents, but about transcending the need to defeat at all. The encounter with the old Tai Chi master had shown him a future version of martial arts, one where longevity mattered more than victory, where understanding outlasted speed. Today, the story exists in a space between fact and myth. Some call it impossible, others call it symbolic. But perhaps that is exactly where it belongs. Not everything meaningful needs proof. Some lessons are meant only for those ready to hear them. The legend is not that Bruce Lee could not beat an old man. The legend is that Bruce Lee encountered a level of skill that refused to play by the rules of youth and ego. A level of skill that did not seek to win, only to endure. And in that endurance, it quietly reshaped the path of one of the greatest martial artists the world has ever known.